Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us on Morning Markets from True Potential. Today, we'll look back at the end of last week and how equity markets performed on Friday. Also focus in on some of the economic data, particularly the survey evidence, which gave quite an interesting contrast in terms of activity, both in services and manufacturing, but also some regional differences there, particularly with the US relative to Europe. So just looking back at equity markets in particular on Friday, really not much to report there in terms of performance. We saw most equity markets lower on the course of the day, very marginally so, such as in the UK, 33 basis points. In the US, the S&P was down 30 bips, the Nasdaq was up 0.1%. So not a lot of movement there, but I do think it's worth spending a little bit of time just looking at the Purchasing Managers Index data points that were released. So flash readings for the Eurozone, a number of the European countries, the UK, and then also in the US. There's a number of trends within these, and very much speaking to some of the points that we've been discussing over the past number of weeks and indeed months, and this real divergence between what's happening in manufacturing and then what's happening in the services side of economies. So just looking at that and digging into it in a little bit of detail, within the Eurozone, the composite PMI reading came in at 47.5. That's basically unchanged month on month. Within that, services remains in contractionary territory, so a reading below 50 is a contraction in activity, and coming in at 45 for January in that flash reading. I think also then just looking into the UK, and it's really worth looking at the impact there as further restrictions took place, and we've seen the third month in a row of a contraction in service activity and quite a fall for the January reading to 38.3 from 45 last month. So that just really gives you an indication of the challenges that the service sector is facing at the moment, and also their expectations of looking forward as well. There is a real contrast within the PMI data when we then look at what happened in the US. And the US data, we've seen both manufacturing and services continue to improve, with the composite there coming in at 58, so well above the 50 and well into expansionary territory. So real contrast with what's happening there. Some of that might be due to the passing of the political uncertainty that has plagued the US, but also just the different approach that they have taken so far in terms of dealing with and allowing economies to function, and businesses, I should say, to function through COVID-19. I think taking all of this together, what do we know? That there is challenges within the services side of things, and that is borne out by broader data points that we've been able to look at over the past number of weeks. So services activity really continues to be pressured. Very important, therefore, that we do see vaccine rollout, the trends that we see there, the percentage of population that are being vaccinated, because that is the one thing that will allow services activity to return and to start to improve again. So we'll be monitoring vaccine rollout very closely in that regard. Just looking at over the course of the week then, really very little to say about sovereign bond markets in the main. Little change in yields over the course of the week. The US ending the week at about 109. So little changed over the course of the week. UK 10-year gilts at 30 basis points, and the German Bund at minus 0.54%. Currency markets then, very much just about that theme that we've been touching on for the past number of months, and that of dollar weakness. So we saw the dollar weaken about 60 basis points over the course of the week against the basket of trading currencies. That, looking into that, really it was a large part about euro strength post the ECB press conference, and also sterling strength as well. So both of those currencies strengthening about 80 basis points relative to the dollar. So then, just turning to looking to the week ahead, quite a busy week this week for company results, both in the US and in Europe. So that will, I think, be pretty much front and centre of the market's focus. A number of things people will be looking for there. just the trends that companies talk about of how they delivered in the fourth quarter, but also their expectations for the year ahead, particularly as it relates to the revenue growth profile, but I think also the costs and the ability to leverage maybe some of the investment that they've made last year into COVID-19 preparedness. We'll also be looking for share price reactions. So we've discussed last week just how the financial sector and the banks reacted to good results, but with falling share prices. We saw other companies such as Netflix report very strong results and have a very positive share price reaction. So we'll be looking at that to get a real sense of how market participants are viewing the current delivery of these businesses, but also a reflection on valuation. Just looking at economic data, pretty light this week in terms of the UK. We get unemployment data tomorrow. Again, that will be closely monitored to see how the challenges that we've discussed in the service sector is feeding into those unemployment trends. In the US, we have the Fed meeting this week. No changes are expected from that. I think as we've discussed, really it's about communication that's really important at this point. So we'll be looking at the press conference, but also the minutes that will come out post the meeting a number of weeks later. That will give us a better indication as to what actually is the thought process of the Fed at this point in time. In terms of Europe, a number of confidence surveys, both business and consumer, over the course of the week, and we'll report back on those. A lot of data in Asia on the health of the Japanese economy, given how we've seen the stock market perform in Japan. That will be a useful indicator as well, just to get a sense of what's actually happening on the ground. Albeit some of the data points are backward looking, it's very much about business expectations looking forward. I'll leave it there. Please do subscribe on our YouTube channel. Thank you very much.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and don't forget to subscribe to the True Potential YouTube channel. If you have any questions or requests for future videos, let us know in the comments.